burden is mine. I will take the ring.
3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. 9 for mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them. 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. This is the War of the Ring.
Good evening everyone, I am Norvari and welcome to my new series, Lord of the Rings War of the Ring. For those of you not aware, War of the Ring is an old real-time strategy game based around J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. As you can see, it's definitely not going to win any awards for the graphics, but that's kind of the charm of such games. So, we're going to be starting off this series with a good campaign, and there will be times when I will switch to the evil campaign in the middle of things, because there are certain plot points that are better explained by playing both campaigns side by side. We'll get to that in a future episode. Just for now, we're going to go into the good campaign, and we're going to start things off.
The Iron Hills echo with the sounds of clashing steel as the dwarves defend their homeland against a wicked orc onslaught. With the help of Gimli, son of Glowing, they prepare to rid the cliffs of the savage infestation. Gimli and his warriors must gather their forces, climb the nearby peaks, and crush their enemies under the weight of the mountain.
So, as you can see, we're starting off with the fan favourite, Gimli. Now, everyone knows Gimli. If you don't like Gimli, you're not watching Lord of the Rings right. So, let's kick things off.
The time has come to drive the orcs from the Iron Hills. Look, up there. There's boulders on the cliffs above the orc camp. If we can gain those cliffs, we'll show the orcs what dwarves can do with stone. A few hard shoves will send some rock crashing down on orc heads. Ha 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 ha!
Okay, so, as with any real-time strategy game, the opening mission is pretty basic. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with RTS games, we'll run through a few of the basics. RTS games involve building a base from which you construct units, upgrade your population cap, gather resources, and other such important aspects of the game such as upgrading. Now, first thing we're going to do is of course build some resource gathering buildings. We can gather from some of these points normally, however it's a lot quicker to use the buildings. Once they're up, you'll gather many more resources at one go, and the time it takes to gather them is significantly reduced. And also we get ourselves up a dwarf hall so we can build some fresh units. Now this particular mission will tell you you don't have enough units to do anything. I can tell you now it lies.
Let us go on.
I have played this game quite a few times in the past,
I'm on my way. Let
and
us go on.
the durability of dwarven units means you do have a significant advantage over your initial foes.
On it.
So if we go charging down here, we should find some
A
goblins.
building has been completed. An
Three goblins
objective
and
has
more.
been completed.
As you can see, the dwarves just rip them to shreds, especially
A
Gimli.
building has
Then
been
what would you expect
An
from Gimli?
objective has been completed.
Right away.
Now, the reason you actually do have the units to be able to handle this is not just because of Gimli the hero, but also because of these guys. Dwarf shield breakers are incredibly tough. They do respectable damage, and starting armor, not to mention over 300 health, there's not a lot going to take them down very quickly. Support those with dwarf axe throwers, and the enemy pretty much doesn't stand a chance against you. So with the force provided, you've got 3 solid tanks and 3 range units, which gives you a pretty good starting force.
I'm on my way.
With this, we can run off and we can start doing the first objective. While they're up there, we'll go back here and start constructing some more workers. Now you will want to get at least 3 guys to each resource building, because otherwise your resources are going to come in very, very slowly in this game. As you said, guys have to walk back and forth between these buildings and the stronghold. There is nowhere else they can deliver them. So it's not like Age of Empires, where you have the luxury of a mill or the like. You have to always keep the stronghold close. You could run off and gather resources elsewhere without having a stronghold in range, but that would be rather unwise. Right, so back to Gimli and Co. And the orcs are just standing there like idiots. So let's go introduce ourselves with hammers, and axes. You have to love this old style cartoony gore.
Over here.
Let's get stuck in. Bowman down. Now, that guy there, that's a goblin slave master. You notice he's pretty tough. This is for a very good reason. Goblin slave masters, for the evil side, actually determine population cap. So whenever you see a slave master, kill it, and you'll reduce your enemy's ability to produce troops. Sooner or later they'll run out of resources to build slave masters with, and you'll maintain a numerical advantage.
Objective has been completed.
There's a good team equivalent to these, the camps. So they usually could be a lot better defended because you're going to have watchtowers. Now the watchtowers are just your standard RTS defensive building. Shoot your enemies, take up a little bit of punishment, the basics.
Yes.
And then we are going to build ourselves an extra camp to be certain. Let's see, how much we need to upgrade to level 2. We're almost there.
Where are they?
And then let's go find somewhere orcs to kill.
Let us go on. Over here.
So if we go charging over here, there should be a
There's
few more
some
enemies.
boulders. Come on.
Oh, no.
Put your backs into it.
Alright, so we're
Right
going to
away.
toss some gigantic boulders down the orc heads.
A building has
I
been
guess I'd give him the lead to do the last one.
Onward. Let us go on.
Now, as you might have guessed, this is just a mission-specific mechanic.
My axe
In most skirmish battles, you're not going to be worrying about boulders falling on your head. So, if you're a bad guy, don't worry, the dwarves aren't actually this overpowered. They're still very tough, but
Over here.
they're not horrific.
Onward. Right away.
Let's finish clearing the mountain faster for orcs,
I'm on my way.
because I believe we left one
I'll
here.
cleave them in two. On it.
And that's job done up there.
Onward.
Now, let's get our stronghold upgrading. Upgrading a stronghold unlocks more units and buildings, so you can generally construct a stronger force. So let's get that going. While that's rolling, we're going to go over here, and we're going to have a look at unit counters. Some games will not have the strongest unit counters,
Just
but
point
in
the way.
RTS games, you'll usually find that there's a very clear rock, paper, scissors sort of hierarchy. So it's just represented by a hammer, a sword, a spear, and a glowing hero sword. So as you can see, if you have a unit with hammers, it's good against units with the sword type, swords against the spears, and spears against the hammers. Now, really, the spears actually usually represent
What is it?
your ranged units. And then
Just
those with
point
hammers
your
Building
way.
has
are usually
been
quite strong in
upgraded. An
siege.
objective has been completed.
So it's very unusual.
My
And of
axe
course,
grows
heroes are
restless.
strong against absolutely everything because they're heroes. And well, what would they be if they couldn't hurt everything? Alright, so now we're upgraded. And we can go to our builder here and construct a forge with which to upgrade our units.
Moving.
Now, we're going to build a few extras. Excuse me. This is because, although these guys are very strong, they're not going to get us all the way, not on their own. So we're going to build a couple of extra axe throwers. About 3 of them. Now, the key thing to remember is always build more range units than close combat units. This is because, although your melee attackers are strong and durable, you're not always going to have
Get me
all
a
of them
target.
against targets you want. If you just swarm an enemy with close combat units, you're going to have a lot of guys just milling about doing absolutely nothing. Whereas if you have lots of range units, they're always going to be able to attack something. So if you have a building and you've already filled up the space around it for attacking in close combat,
An objective has
then
been completed.
your axe
Just
throwers,
throw 'em a
bowmen,
guard,
or
will
whatever
ya?
else you're using will be able to continue attacking it no matter what, because it's a lot harder to fill the space. So now we've done that, I'm going to build
Get me a target.
2 more Dwarven Shield Breakers. So that'll give us a pretty well-rounded force, capable of taking on pretty much anything in this particular mission. We're going to start breaking that armor and weapons, so that'll give us a little boost.
Moving.
And once these guys are built, we'll be set. Another thing, because this is quite an early RTS game, there isn't a lot in the way of formations with these guys. They'll just run however they
Give
want.
me a row of
So you
orcs.
will have to be careful how you position your guys based on the direction you want to be running.
I'm on my way.
So in this way, we've got our shield bearers put to the fore.
On it.
That way they'll be the first to engage. Now,
Over
as with
here.
many RTS games, you can just press the A key and right click, and your guys will charge towards the spot and kill anything that's in their way. Or die, depending on what they fix. In this mission, you're really not going to face a lot of lethal forces, so you're pretty safe to just attack and move everywhere you want.
An upgrade has been
Right
completed.
away. Over
So there
here.
should be an enemy camp just over here.
Over here.
This will be a little bit more challenging,
Right
but also be a
away.
little educational. Now you'll see this glowing fountain in here. I will let Gimli and Co do their work. This is a place of power, and this gives a global buff to your units. In this case, it has a regeneration bonus, so your health is going to be going up a lot faster on your units, even when you're in combat.
Taking control of
This
a place
fountain
of
will
power.
refresh the truth.
You'll notice these buildings are dying very fast. They're actually not normal. In this case, Gimli has his siege aura, which, as you can imagine, means your unit's going to be able to bring a lot more damage to buildings, which is why these are dying so very quickly. It's not just like of having it rather difficult or anything, it's simply that Gimli and his forces are that strongly offensive against buildings. So, we've made sure we'll do that, and we're going
I'm on my
to
way.
move up the pass.
On it.
If I'm not
Onward.
mistaken,
Right away.
there are quite a few orcs along here. Now, one key thing to note while these guys are fighting
Ready.
is that heroes actually gain experience in this game based on hits, not just on kills. So even if your hero doesn't get a kill, as long as he's been hitting things, his experience will continue to go up, unlike some games
What is it?
where you need to be constantly killing things to get anywhere.
An upgrade has been completed.
What? Over
So more
here.
orcs killed,
I'm on my way. Over
continue
here.
charging.
On it.
Now one thing you have to love in this game is it has very steep hills. What may not sound like something to really be appreciative of, but it can actually make some really fantastic moments. Later on when we'll be using mounted units, you'll see what I mean.
On it.
So let's go drop some more boulders.
Gimli here.
They really did want to make this mission quite thematic, but yet also very easy. They've already drastically reduced their strength there. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick here. If you come over here,
over here.
You have these guys.
Let us go on.
3 orc bowmen. Now, given the height, you wouldn't think it would do much. However, War the Ring actually does increase range based on height. So those guys up here would actually have to shoot on my units down here. So if I just walked down here, they'd have been shooting me to ribbons.
Let us go on.
And then, I'm going to take this opportunity to explain another unique aspect of War the Ring. And that's fate points. You gain fate points by fighting things, mostly. And each faction has 5 powers. So let's have a look at some of them. So we've got Blind, which will stun a group of enemies within a certain radius. Brambles, which means the enemies moving through the affected area will take damage. We have Heroic Legacy, which adds a lot of power to a chosen hero, but stops you from recruiting them at the stronghold if they die. Excuse me. We have Blessed Wind, which adds knockback to the attack of ranged units. And our ultimate power is the Summon Giant Ent, which is quite a devastating power really. He throws gigantic boulders at your enemies and just obliterates everything. As we have 3 fate points, we're going to use our Heroic Legacy on Gimli, just to make him even more overpowered. Why? Because it's fun.
Just give me a row of orc necks.
Let's get our guys over here. Go to our Dwarfall. I'm just going to add another Shield Bearer and 2 more Axe Throwers. Because we're now going to be facing much more significant enemy forces. Still not entirely lethal, especially not with Gimli around, but they are going to do a bit more damage to us now. Now, you notice our camps can be rid of war camps, which is another way to increase your population cap, which saves you on taking up space building new camps, which is a very handy feature. Because over time you will find yourself pressed for space within your bases, and as you start running out of resources, you'll find some bases less useful than others.
Get me a target.
Right. Here comes our new Shield Bearer.
I'm listening.
So let's get Gimli and the Shield Bearers moving up front.
Where is it? Get me a target. Where is it? I'm listening. Here. This way. Right away!
A building has been
I
upgraded.
noticed those guys were walking rather than running. And that
A
brings us
building
to
has been
a rather
upgraded.
useless
A
but
building
yet
has been
very
upgraded.
fun aspect of the game, which is you have a run-walk toggle. So as you can imagine, when you toggle it off, your guys will actually just start walking around.
Where's the
So
fight?
rather than have your guys running
Where's
off at
the
random,
fight?
you can just have them taking a casual
Let's
stroll through the
talk
battlefield.
more fight.
I'm not entirely sure why you'd be doing that, but if you want to create a thematic moment, it's really fun to use.
I smell battle. Move out.
So, let's put run mode back on,
Gimli here.
and
Let
start
us
marching.
go on. I'm on my way. Let us go on. I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
So, off into another enemy camp. As you can see, there's quite a few numbers, especially considering the order drop boulders. The camp's been destroyed, and as you can see, we've lined up for battle now. We are moving on to the last of the enemy camps, and towards the end of this episode. So, we're going to go for a climactic
I'm on my
ending
way.
if we can. So we're going to go marching slowly across the river to face the legions of darkness.
Right away.
Well, I wouldn't really call them legions, but
Right
well,
away.
the raiding force of darkness.
Onward.
We'll go with that one. As you can see, we do actually start running again when it's time for battle.
Let them come. Over here.
So we're going to switch to full run mode now. Charge into them. gathering up our fate once again very quickly.
Right away! Right away!
And just going to charge all out into their camp. You notice the enemy forces are dying very easily. This is because, as in most games, the bad guys focus on use of numbers. A lot of our guys, they're expensive, they take a lot of population cap, and despite their durability, they can be overwhelmed through sheer numbers, which is what the enemy usually tries to do. They do have some units that are quite powerful in their own right, but for the most part you'll find that bad guys are a bit weaker on the individual scale, but stronger in large-scale battles. Again, you can see how much that siege aura comes into play, how rapidly the buildings die.
Onward!
So let's go charging in. Beat this guy up. Your captain.
An objective has been completed.
Now you might be wondering what these posts are. These are war posts, and they're supposing the ground to go as you see it here. That's what allows the bad guys to build their structures. I'll be talking more about that when I do my first evil episode. Just finish them off. And give me a little victory speech.
An objective has been...
Ha ha! Good work, friends! We've cleared the orcs from these hills!
Rumours spread quickly in the orc ranks about dwarves who could make rocks fall from the sky. The orcs retreated from the cliffs and mountain ledges they had used to invade the dwarf lands. A dwarf victory would have been assured, but fear of the Dark Lord Sauron inspired the orcs to find another way into the kingdom of Durin's folk.
So there we are, guys. That was my first episode of War of the Ring. I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you for our next episode, in which we will continue driving the orcs out of the Iron Hills.